Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Hello and welcome to SBL. Hashtag in front of it. This is Souq Business Landscape. Here we discuss not just trending issues, but issues that border around Nigeria, our economy, how we develop in Africa, how we come into the market. Then we'll talk about Asia, Europe, those across the Atlantic, how is money making the nations move? How is our relationship? What is the policy? We'll talk about them. As they hit the news, we'll discuss. We ask ourselves some serious questions. We look ourselves in the eye and tell ourselves some basic truth and tell you, hey, don't just listen, don't just watch, be a part of the show. So what do? Go to our social media handles, go to networks, Souq Television, follow us, join the conversation, let's talk. It's a beautiful Monday, beautiful week. Let's start this together. Now our programming has changed, so Souq Business Landscape will be the first you get to see on Souq News every single day. So be part of it. My name is Chooks, John Rogers Chooks. Today we'll be looking at leadership in Nigeria. We had a sad day yesterday. We'll get into it. Our president will be in Daura to mourn a president that just passed. We are all feeling it and we'll be part of it. We'll also hear from you and want to see what do you think were the legacies that are on ground, and we'll be looking at discussing them. We'll also get to Europe and get to see what is happening with the tariff war. Who is gaining? Who is losing? We'll come back home. We'll discuss some very serious and salient issues. Don't go anywhere. When I return, I'll introduce the men on the table and we'll get to it. Don't go anywhere. SBL will be right back. Stay there right there.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome back. This is SBL, Souq Business Landscape. And on the table today are the men you know. These are the group of people you want to get into the war with. And I'm pleased and I'm honored to have them this beautiful morning on SBL. Right from the side of the left, not the one that was crucified. Your Excellencies, please join me as I welcome the fair one, Priye. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Chooks. Good morning, Nigerians. It's glad to be in your face today.
You're really in their face, and we'll stick it there.
Yes,
then next to me is the ninth. Your Excellencies, Olumide.
Good morning, Chooks. Happy New Week. Good morning. It's glad to be here again.
And to my right, not the far side of it, the Oracle himself, Dr. Daura.
Good Nigeria. Good morning, Chooks. Happy to be here.
You're welcome. Now, we are not going to start the show on a sad note, no. Our past president, he was 82. So he died with some good age. So it's not a sad thing. We are not going to be moody or going to... You will hear our voice go dull. But we're going to celebrate a man, someone that ruled this country twice. And to go on with that particular story, the president, our own president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and several Nigerian heads of states are gathering in Daura today for the burial of former President Muhammadu Buhari. He died in London hospital at the age of 82. Now, Vice President Shettima accompanied his remains back overnight following Tinubu's directive. The federal government has ordered flags flown at her mast for 7 days and scheduled an emergency Federal Executive Council session to honor the late leader. President Tinubu, in a personal tribute, described Buhari as a patriot and statesman who led Nigeria with integrity and commitment, both as a military ruler and elected president. Buhari, known for his anti-corruption stance and disciplined governance style, passed after prolonged illness. His burial in Daura follows Islamic tradition, with regional leaders and dignitaries expected to pay respect. Tinubu assured the nation of a state funeral reflecting Buhari's national legacy and service. So this is where we are at today. That news broke yesterday afternoon. And for once, we saw things follow the route it should be. We were informed, and we say to everyone that was part of that particular communication channel, thank you very much. Let's be open. Now let's discuss our past president. He's just the immediate past president, not just our past president. Muhammadu Buhari. There's a whole lot of stories to tell about him. But now let's look at his legacy and leadership style. Doc, what do you have to say to that?
Well, I think in my oracle, a lot of people may not agree. President Muhammadu Buhari was a great leader. I believed in him, and I think about 2 months ago, somebody asked me, and he said, "You so talk about Muhammadu Buhari, and I told him if there was opportunity to vote a third time, I would have voted for him."
Thank God there were no opportunities.
Yeah, but there was no opportunity to do a third time, so we couldn't vote for him. And the reason was quite very obvious for me. As growing up as a young person, and I saw when that coup happened in 1983, prior the MPN rampage on Nigeria. And things were so bad at that point that, of course, you remember those popular saying of late Marudiko that he said that he had not seen Nigeria eating food from dustbin. And it was at that point that this man came into Nigeria and to the real limelight of the public service, where, of course, the real problem in Nigeria has been indiscipline. And he tried his best to see how to sanitize indiscipline in Nigeria, but unfortunately, because of his lenient heart, he was overthrown by his closest ally, and then, of course, detained for some time and then got back. Now, living as a civilian, also saw that those things, which, of course, he tried to remedy in 1983 were so much there and has not gone, and also made an attempt to serve in public office as civilian president. And again, of course, you see a lot of betrayal here and there, that the people that you trust the most, they are the one who will not support you to actually succeed. So for me, it was really one man who are actually able to identify the problem with Nigeria. A lot of people talk about Nigerian problem, but the bigger problem in Nigeria is actually indiscipline. And I think if we can take indiscipline out of Nigeria, Nigeria will be a great country. He tried his best, but the best was not good enough to save Nigeria out of indiscipline.
He tried his best, but his best was not good enough. I think that will go for a good song. Priye, let me come to you. Doc said he will give Buhari a vote of confidence. We have a tradition of celebrating people while they are dead, which is not a good one. I think people should be celebrated while they are alive. Now let's look at the military president, Buhari. Unfortunately, he was unable to spend 2 years. At that particular point in time, I don't know how old you were, but you are a student of history. Will you give him a pass mark as a military ruler?
I think it's customary, and it's also a very, very good custom when people have transitioned to the great beyond to speak of their good side and not of their bad side.
Why?
Because it is a custom that should be upheld. While he was alive, both on this table and outside this table, we had talked about his economic policy lapses. We had talked about his lapses as a military president and also as a democratically elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay.
But I think today, no matter how short the time is that we are going to talk about our president, our former president, we should devote all that specific time to the positive.
Okay.
Yes, and in that particular case, when he was in the military, in fact, before even becoming the military president, something befell Nigeria. And amongst all the top military generals, or the top military brigadier generals, or lieutenant commanders at that point in time, one of the men that stood up to it was the late President Muhammadu Buhari. That was during the Metatsin menace that we had in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where currently what we experienced as banditry or what we experienced as terrorists and all of that was coming in from Niger Republic into Nigeria, and they were terrorizing the country. I think it was known as the Metasini during that particular point in time. Former President Muhammadu Buhari was then in the military, yes, maybe at the brigadier general level. I cannot specifically tell you.
Yeah, of course, he was the commander of the guys in Jos at that time.
And he took his battalion, his troops, without the federal government intervention or instruction, independently, and chased these terrorists away from Nigeria. In fact, he was so dogged in the fight against the Metatsin menace that he took it straight. Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians were completely unaware of what was happening at that point in time. He has chased these rebels and these terrorists down to Niger Republic. In fact, it was almost crossing into Niger Republic until the national radio in Niger Republic started making an announcement that Muhammadu Buhari of the Nigerian military officers and brigadier general rank, you are going to encroach on the territorial integrity of a sovereign nation and all of that. That was the warning that came from a radio broadcast that made him turn back. Former President Muhammadu Buhari, then a military brigadier general. Look at the feat he accomplished. And that is why it boggles the mind when we currently speak of terrorism, banditry, and it's a protracted menace in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we see our Nigerian military and we see our leaders. It's a sorry state. Sometimes our leaders do not understand the pain of the people. They don't understand the plight because we know what they can do. We are completely abreast of the capacity they have to solve the problems. And the reason why they are not doing that is what boggles the mind. So that's the feat that President Muhammadu Buhari...
And it was even tried.
He was even tried for that.
For prosecuting an international war.
Yes.
Without any... yes, and the man said, well, yes, I went. That's why I was actually going to get him to Chad, really.
Yes.
Because he can open his eyes to see pregnant women ripped open and their child unborn are killed by this miscreants and terrible element, and then he'll be waiting for command from Lagos. So he needed to take an action to save Nigeria, and whatever that means to him, leaving the military or even facing death, that he was quite ready for it.
So that was at that particular point in time.
Yes, so this is something...
We don't get to study this in history.
Most times, yes.
We can't even be able to. It depends on who's writing history.
Okay. So when we think of former President Muhammadu Buhari, we should think of him in this light. And for the young military officers, you should take a cue from this. Muhammadu Buhari has served his time in the military and now in the civilian administration. He has just concluded that he will be greatly missed, and he should be an inspiration to most of the young officers in the Nigerian military. Now, if I'm to come to the civilian administration...
let me hold you on that.
Okay.
Just hold on to that thought. The night. Let's talk about infrastructure. Both as a military, he was a military president, and as a civilian president. He's less than 2 years as the president wearing the khaki, and he's 8 years as a civilian president. What notable infrastructure come to mind?
All right. Condolences to the family. I remember when Buhari was about to be elected the first time. The joy in people's minds. I remember that 2014, that prompted me to go and get my voter's card because I wanted to vote. I also remember the fact that when he was elected, There was a meme that was distributed, and you could see Buhari on a phone saying, there are no more prisons, don't worry, we'll build more prisons for, we know who that is. I also remember the fact that when he was elected, yes, it might be unconnected, but there was stable power, and people began to say that, it's because it's Buhari that is elected, that, that's why power is stable, that's why there's less corruption. So I would also like to describe his leadership style as ascetic, no-nonsense discipline, and anti-corruption. He was known for integrity.
He as a person or the administration?
He.
As a person?
As a person.
Okay. But can we separate him from the administration?
Can you really do that?
That's where the issue is right now.
That's it. It's debatable whether his administration stood for integrity, but we know what President Muhammadu Buhari stood for. One of the things that I admire, which is also debatable, if you look at it, towards the end of his second term, was the cash swap policy. Now, the intent for that was to rid corruption, vote buying, banditry, and terrorists, and hoarding, and also thereby introduce this cashless policy. That was the main aim, but,
somewhere along the line.
No, that was not the first, because actually in 1983, 84, Buhari actually changed the currency of Nigeria. Because at that time, when he came in, a lot of people are having so much money in their hands, and the politicians, they have taken all the money in Nigeria, and he was determined to ensure that that money that was in their hand became useless. And overnight, there was an announcement that the currency of Nigeria was changing, every denomination of it. And it did overnight. Just give people 1 week window to go drop your money in the bank.
And he was able to do that as a military leader.
As a military leader. Overnight. So there was no need to wait for anybody. Everybody go and drop your money in the bank. But I know a lot of people cried because people couldn't meet up the 1 week deadline. It's not like today we have digital banking. You remember those days of Italy, a lot of people queued for 1 week and they could not actually put their money in the bank. And some people actually lost money.
Let's get to this side of it now. It's difficult to separate a man from his administration. It's difficult to separate a man from his government. Let's look at those particular things that made his government not to perform apart, the way we expected them to perform. Okay. So, Doc, let me start with you.
Well, I think we can't separate him from his administration. But, of course, his individual personality, of course, people still know, even those who are in his administration. In short, I remember that, of course, when that election happened in 2015 and the president was sworn in, even the international press said, now Nigeria can heave a sigh of relief, that nobody will come and tell you that the president won 20%. And I can tell you with the whole of my heart that nobody who served that regime can say that there was a time that Mr. President said, go and do 20%.
Yeah, but let's talk about the administration itself.
So that is the point. But
he was leading an administration.
He is him.
There was a lot of potholes within the administration.
As a person. Okay. But you see, everybody has his own administrative style. And I think that's really what a lot of people see to be his weakness. If you hear people today talk about Buhari, they talk about him that, he was not the person who was ruling, it was Idiagbon that was ruling, but that for me was not really true.
That was as a military?
Yes, as a military. People thought that it was Idiagbon ruling, but the fact is that
as a civilian person,
this is a man who gives you an assignment and allow you to do the assignment and don't teach you how to do the assignment.
Even while you are messing up the assignment?
Yeah, but see, it's not why messing up the assignment, because if you look at the statistics...
Okay, let's give a typical example. Aviation. Nigerians were scammed. Everybody can bear witness to that. So what exactly should he have done?
Yeah, but you see, the problem
here is... Look at
no. You see, the issue of the scamming is... You have to look at the event that happened with the aviation issue.
Was there a scam or there was no scam?
As a president, you don't see... This fact came after they were almost out of the office, because papers are presented to the president to sign that we're doing something to build a national airline, because every northern oligarchy seems to believe in national infrastructure. If you remember Musa Yar'Adua, he believed so much, and that was why a lot of things that the Obasanjo regime said he has to buy them back. So they believe in national infrastructure, and somebody is saying, this will, of course, create a room.
Okay.
And then he gave the go-ahead. But in terms of implementation...
If I follow your chain of thought, that means he also was scammed.
Yes, he was scammed.
Okay.
You know, there were a lot of situations in which President Muhammadu Buhari was scammed himself.
Let me get to you. Now let's look at also the issue of anti-corruption. He was one that stood 100% for bringing any iota of corruption down. He said that, and he kept saying it. But within that administration, between that 8 years, we saw a whole lot of negatives from people that were working with him. What should be the takeaway to those of us that are alive and those of us that are still in public offices from those particular shortfalls?
Okay, so one thing that will not escape the, will I call it the dragnet, or that will not escape the personality or the disposition of either a military administration or a civilian or democratic administration is that of corruption. While he was a military president, yes, maybe he did his bit to curtail that because of the way the military wielded power, absolute power, to the extent that even the institutions of government cannot really hold them to this. They seem to be high.
They were governing by degrees.
By decrees. But in the civilian government, we saw a Buhari different from a military president. He succumbed. And when he succumbed, some things actually passed under the bridge.
Can you be specific?
When I mean some things specifically passed under the bridge, one of the reasons why, or that was a very, very critical campaign slogan or campaign point, why Nigerians went all out for him to vote him to power, was his capacity and his wherewithal to bring to end terrorism and banditry. He was unable to do that. Maybe he would have done better if he were a military president. But he was unable to do that.
Looking at his antecedents, right?
Yes, this is a military government where the good, the bad, and the ugly are in government. And influences could be coming from left, right, and center. He will have somehow, he may have to succumb because it is politicking, which actually brought you to the saddle. You did not, yes, he had most of the integrity was there for him to have been sold by his political party, and he won the election, but he needed to perpetuate himself there, which could have meant by that integrity would have been expanded. However, politicking took over the place of the integrity. Okay. So he will have to succumb, and I think he did succumb to a whole lot of things, which actually made his civilian government not to be as effective, or the discipline that Dr. Daura was talking about to really be entrenched during a civilian administration. We didn't see much of that, and those are the shortcomings that we should put into consideration for leaders who will be looking at him and want to copy his examples, to take note so that they will not fall into the same murky waters.
Okay. The Knight, I'm coming back to you before we round up this particular issue. What do you think Nigerians will remember the past president for?
Quite an interesting, tricky question. But I think I will remember him for a man who had a plan for Nigeria and wanted to achieve it. But you can have a brilliant idea, but if you surround yourselves with people who do not share that same dream, it might not work. President Buhari had, if you look at his military era, what he was able to achieve and what he was trying to achieve during his civilian rule, there was a bit, yes, he was accused at a point of nepotism in his higher appointment and all that. I remember the case of Onohe and how people felt he was too quick or harsh in the way he removed Onohe. And I remember he was also trying to build a train, to Niger and boost trade. I remember a whole lot. And just like...
Why will you forget the second Niger bridge?
I was coming to that. While I would not...
And saving Nigeria from being scammed by P&ID.
Yes. So while I would not like to go the other side, like Priya said, it is customary not to speak ill of the dead.
Okay, while you say it's customary not to speak ill of the dead, we on this side, on Souq News, our heart goes to the family and people of Daura. We pray that his soul will rest in peace. Now we go straight to our second story for the day. Now this is financial issues. The Central Bank of Nigeria reports that Nigerians withdrew over 923 billion naira from banks between May 2024 and May 2025. Its money and credit statistics reveal that cash held outside the banking system rose to 4,630 million, up from 3.71 trillion a year earlier. That's a 25% increase. Currency in circulation has now hit 5.01 trillion, with over 92% of it held outside banks. Let me say that again, with over 92% of that held outside banks. Analysts warn that this trend reflects public anxiety over economic conditions and trust in formal banking. Gentlemen, should we be scared?
Yeah, but I think we've said a lot about this, and I think even the people who are here looking at it from common sense perspective, it tells you that the money are with the POS. If you can take the statistics of the number of POS that are in our country today, and you can know that this withdrawal is happening because of the POS.
The money are with the POS.
The POS operators. So,
okay.
So I think it shouldn't be really too much of a worry because they are circulating and the money is moving around because the POS operator are the one holding the cash. Because if you go around your neighborhood, you can imagine the number of POS that you see around, and they all have cash and they are dispensing. Since, of course, the bank ATMs refuse to dispense cash. So the cash is with ATM people. So really there's nothing to worry about, and I don't see it as anything that is quite disturbing. And but I think that CBN should also monitor the operations and the activities of the POS operator to ensure that we don't get money into the wrong hands.
Okay, now, Pri, I'm coming to you. Doc said the money is in the hands of POS. So that means we have several bank vaults in different junctions.
Mobile bank.
No, it doesn't need to be in vaults. You see, if you have 10,000 people operating POS and they are just keeping 100,000 naira each, you can put it and know what fraction that is.
Well, the POS guys in my area, they hold more than 100,000 naira. One person
so no, I'm just talking about 100,000 for 10,000 POS operators. Multiply it, you will see the number of what fraction it will give you.
Okay, now, Pri, let's get to you. If this amount of money is not in the banking system, where is the bank going to get money to do business?
Okay, circulation. The money circulates. And first of all, I don't think the POS operators are the only ones who have those cash in their hands. You know, this cash, sometimes I know we were driving home on Friday. Was it on Friday or Thursday?
It was Thursday.
It was on Thursday. And he wanted to buy fuel. And there's a specific filling station that we went to buy fuel. And they merely looking at them, they were not going to accept transfer. They can accept your ATM card, but they weren't going to accept transfer. That means it's either you're coming with cash or you are using your card for POS. That whilst we were in queue, we saw some other people buying and they were exchanging cash. Those guys probably got it from the POS. Maybe they do not have their card, they use it to buy from the filling station. And the filling station mop up the cash in their hands and sell back to the POS. So that could be why it is hindering the flow of that money back to the bank. So even when it gets back to the bank, that same money, the POS operator goes there to buy the cash from the bankers and bring it back into circulation. So it's a
to sell to you.
To sell to you, Doc, myself, and the night.
No, I'm not among.
So you see the bank, the POS, and the operators, and the people who transact with these categories. And we must also acknowledge that during the 2023 general elections, our leader, who is now, who has now transitioned, that we spoke about, brought out a cash policy where he wanted to be at the forefront of driving the cashless policy, even though that was interpreted from the different perspective. Politicians interpreted it differently, that, oh, he's trying to hinder those who brought into power from taking over the saddle of power and all of that. But he brought in that policy. So we all knew what happened, where cash became expensive. You know, in Nigeria, I don't know this.
Yeah, another scam on the president.
Cash became expensive because when you work, they pay your salary into the bank. You have to go to the bank. There is no cash. The bank sells the cash to the POS operator. You have to go there to buy your money for that kind of expense. One of the reasons why I brought in that policy was to also deplete the money, or make the money in the hands of unscrupulous elements like the terrorists and the bandits useless. Because there was also a deadline. If
we are focusing on the monies in the hands of terrorists,
to the banks,
are we also focusing on the monies outside the bank in the hands of politicians?
Yes, of course. I'm coming to that. I was coming to that.
It was told that act alone will give Nigeria a credible election, that nobody will have money to buy votes.
But the same politicians thwarted that particular policy.
And that of course made a lot of sense to Mr. President at that time. That if we can stop people from buying votes, and then of course, which means Nigeria will vote, and then the average Nigerian person will actually be ready to decide who wins that election. That was good for him, because it was actually for nobody and for everybody.
Okay.
So that was another scam, because those who envisaged that didn't actually wanted to do that. They had another thing in mind, but they knew that once you say
those who envisioned, that was not even a scam. See, the president at that time, while he was going to do that.
Which president at that time?
The former president,
Muhammad
Buhari.
Thank you.
Yeah, at that time, while he was mooting the idea, look, the idea had already leaked. We saw a video clip, even while that policy was on, where they were even sharing the new 500 naira notes that they call Emefiele money.
Okay.
We saw it had been on circulation, so people had an idea of what he wanted to do, and they've already gone ahead of him. So it was actually thwarted, though he tried, because it actually worked. Because if it hadn't, probably maybe the election would have still panned out the way it did by whoever emerged that emerged. But you know what? The disparity or the gap of votes would have probably told a different story, but the same story would have emerged about the winner.
But you know the suffering experience in that
short period. Oh, of course, they are the people. These are the people that pays whenever we have policy somersault. Wherever we had any policy somersault, these are the people that pays for it. And you know what? Even that cashless policy wouldn't have solved the election malpractice issue, because food stuff would have been bought with just the press of a button on the phone by transaction.
But the technology was not accepted at that particular point in time.
Oh, the technology was there, because we have the fintechs that were working. People who sell atarudo in the market was selling atarudo for people who cannot use cards, who cannot bring physical cash. Yes, they were selling it. Yes, they were. They did. People were selling tomato in the market. They were still selling.
Honorable, mute your mic. Are we there?
Nice.
Okay, good. Now, let's come back to this particular topic. Good.
Yes.
The night, I'm coming back to you. Now, let's look at it from this particular aspect. If the bank need money to do business, and now a lot of this money, in quote, is outside there, how is it going to affect capitalization? Where CBN is saying, hey, banks, you need to get to over $1 trillion. Dollars. That's what my thought is telling me, not just 500 billion. Now, we are looking at an economy to be able to float in trillions of dollars for this president to achieve what he wants to do in his tenure. And now we are having banks shouting that, hey, these monies are out there. What is the solution? Because I also see the banks being involved in this issue of the money being out there.
Thank you very much. That was my first reply, because when this whole thing started, we also heard that the banks are in collusion with this POS operators, because if you go to ATMs, just beside the ATM, you will see a POS operator.
And the ATM is dysfunctional.
And you have like 10 ATMs probably one is working and the queue is long. A lot of people don't want that. And if it's just 100 naira to get your cash immediately from the POS, people would opt for that. So if you look at it in a way, some of these bank officials allegedly, let's put it there, allegedly, colluded with these POS operators. They give them this cash because yes, you stand to make a certain amount of money. So what they just do is probably fill it up with maybe just a million naira, and before 12 noon, it's empty. And of course, you have to go patronize the POS. And that is how they, So it's a whole lot of things. And I remember when CBN also came out and said that the POS operators have to register, they give them a deadline and everything. People thought that, is it like they're trying to rain I will not call it terror, but rain something down on these POS operators. But that did not even deter Nigerians. Nigerians still patronize POS operators till today.
Okay. Why Nigerians are patronizing PS operators? Let's look at this question from a technical point of view. If Nigeria should vigorously pursue the cashless policy, will it not end this issue of money outside?
Yeah, but I was going to just make a reference to the question you earlier asked to Olumide. I don't think money outside of the bank will stop the bankers from doing what they are doing, because you still have other channels for which a lot happens. And that channels is the fact that we are supposed to even have digital currency right now, of course, the Mayfield actually started, which it didn't really
digital
see.
currency you will trust or you will use?
I will use.
Okay, as an elite?
Yes, I will
Okay,
use. So I think these are...
Do you think we will trust the digital currency?
And I think everybody really should trust it. You see, because the problem is that we are still principally an underbanked society. That's the problem. In small Rwanda, country literally over 10 million people, you find that everybody in Rwanda by Momo is connected to a bank account.
Everybody in Rwanda?
Everybody.
Good. And there are more fintechs in Nigeria than in Rwanda?
Rural, urban. Yes, you have the fintechs.
Why is CBN not pushing people to that direction?
Our fintechs are only operating in the urban and semi-urban centers. They are not in the rural area.
As long as you have a network connection.
No, the problem is that the gateway through which, of course, this transaction can happen is not here in Nigeria yet. Talk about fiber optics connectivity in Nigeria. It's still less than 60%.
Okay.
Now, while in Rwanda, it's about 92 or 97%.
Can I pause you a bit? Now we have the USSD code, which all the networks in Nigeria operate on. Now we're having an issue of who is paying who. Are we paying the bank? Is the bank paying? Are the networks paying? What is affecting the financial sector? Is it more of who wants to make more money? That is why we're not letting it.
Look at it this way. This is what I'm saying to you. We are still underbanked.
When we have all this.
Yes, technology are there. Also, you have to create, first of all, an account so that if you are doing the USSD, it has to be done from your account. Many people don't have bank accounts. So when you look at the population of the number of people who are bankers in Nigeria, you will check it and you see some people are having 5, 10 bank accounts, depending on how rich you are. So when you will see the figure, you will still see that we are seriously underbanked, and I think that's a major problem, although religion is also a factor to that. But if you go to states like Rwanda, where everybody is banked,
can I add to what you're saying?
Okay.
As long as you have a phone and a phone number, you have a bank account.
Yeah, it's beyond that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's beyond that.
We have fintechs right now.
No.
And microfinance banks. That's all what they need is just your phone number.
But you are talking fintech. The fintech require a BVN. They also require your...
Some don't even require it.
They require your NIN number also. And don't forget, as we speak today, and I think the last count Nigeria has only registered about 110 or 120 million people out of a population that is estimated to be over 230 million people. It tells you the number who don't have access to this fintech you talk about. And
There,
for this
in this number, there are children under 18, under 5. There are very elderly people.
Yes, we understand it.
Then there is a lot of people that are dead.
Yeah. So we need to understand that these limitations, as it were, is affecting the operations of the fintech.
Okay, give us solutions now.
What are the solutions? The solution is simple, and I think that's what Mr. President is trying to do, that is embarking on a massive project to see how that Nigeria can be covered substantially by the fiber optic, so that we can move from the 54-55% that we are today to at least 90 to 95%, so that where the entire of Nigeria is covered and then access become very, very simple. If you remember that during the census delimitation, NPC had to hire some drones, and they had to use satellite images to be able to delimit enumeration centers.
Are we going back to
Nigeria?
are we going back to the last planned census?
No, I'm talking about the years
that was not accounted for.
That was not done.
Oh,
so
that was not accounted for.
So what that means is that if we have fiber optics laid around the entire of our nation, it is easier for us to actually have the gateway for the operations for everybody to be financially included, as it were. Now, education is also very key, and I think recently we're also doing well in terms of also allowing that we are not having banks and fintechs that are also Islamic in nature, because I did a survey some years ago for the different bank PHP, and we're looking for a window for Islamic banking, and they said, look, we can't put our money at commercial bank because we want money in the places where we can determine how it's spent. So this cultural and religious factor that's also affecting the bankability of the population is also need to be addressed. So, and I think what we need to do is to have more of these banks that address cultural matters, and then of course we have the interconnectivity of the nation with the fiber optics, and then I think we are good to go.
Okay, while we are good to go, I'll just have one last word from you. If you happen to be a bank MD tomorrow, who will you pursue?
Who will I pursue?
Yeah, to grow the money in your bank, who will you pursue? Are you going to pursue the elite, or you pursue the numbers?
Both.
Both?
Yes. Yes. Both, because chasing the numbers will bring inclusivity.
Okay.
Yes. The elite, because of investment and returns. And that is easy. Now, when Doc was talking, he's talking about a lot of people that are not banked. The reason is not far-fetched. He also alluded to that. In information technology infrastructure in some of these areas. And of course, there are barriers. There are barriers. In fact, someone cracked a joke that somebody saw that he had money in his bank account, and people were going to the ATMs to go and withdraw money and take out, and he was surprised that the money, his money could also be in the machine. So he went there, withdrew the money, he went into the bank and paid it in again, just to secure the money. It was a joke. However, just to paint a picture of there are some people whose level, or what we refer to as basic knowledge, is more like a luxury to them, and you cannot blame them for that. It is a social thing, and their understanding. So they need to be won over, and they don't need to be forced or punitive measures put that, hey, you cannot have XYZ amount of money, cash in your hand to spend. They will see that as a punitive measure. So it has to be a way of education and creating this awareness and enlightenment. And this is where we need to bring in the National Orientation Agency to go down into these areas, to use the local language of these people to talk to them that, look, this is the reason why we are preaching cashlessness or cashless policy, why we need to chase this policy. It's for your good, it's for my good. And because if we do this, your money will even be well protected. And of course, you see everybody has a phone at the press of a button or use of USSD. They need to equally learn that too.
Okay.
So they don't press.
Dear Bank MD, your time is up.
Yes, okay.
But that bank, you must start it.
Yeah, the bank?
Of course, yes. But I'm coming to you. Now, we've seen cases where the security agencies or a whistleblower discovered large, humongous amount of monies with capital S's in water tanks, in septic tanks, in wardrobes, in high-rise buildings, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Imo, in Abia. We've seen monkeys swallowing millions. Snake. How can both the bankers, the banking sector, and the security agents be able to stop this kind of trend? Because most times it's always major public office holders and politicians. How can we stop this? If let the money let it stay in the bank.
Like the new initiative coming from the National Revenue Service that would monitor all accounts, I think should take care of a whole lot of things. So once a particular amount of money hits your account, before you withdraw it, the EFCC, the ICPC, they are all notified, the National Revenue Service, they are all notified of this particular amount that has hit your. So whether you withdraw it or not, they are already in the know of what, and I think that would also create some sense of stability to help stabilize the level of corruption and all that, because now they know how much each and everyone has in his account. But one of the things I wanted to also add to Priya and to Doctor is digital literacy in rural areas. We need to bridge that gap, because a lot of cases of identity theft has to do with digital literacy, whereby someone steals your identity, uses it to borrow loan from a loan shark or whatever, and we've seen cases of people running to banks shouting, and right there and there they're getting alerts of withdrawals, and the bank seems to be. So I think the banks also need to bridge that gap of digital literacy, because yes, you might have a phone and it just takes a USSD, but you also need to know how to secure that mobile phone, that smartphone you are holding, especially in rural areas. So I think digital literacy, we need to bridge that gap. So National Orientation Agency, they need to come in and bridge this.
Thank you very much. Now, we'll go to the second part of this story. The Central Bank of Nigeria will hold its monetary policy meeting on the 21st of July and 22nd to decide on interest rates amidst persistent inflation and pressure on the naira. Governor Olayemi Cardoso, my state governor, is expected to announce whether the bank will adjust the current 27.5% monetary policy rate, last maintained in May, along with unchanged reserve and liquidity ratio for commercial banks. With inflation still around 24%, analysts are divided. Some predict a rate hike to curb inflation, while others warn that rising rates could slow down recovery. The meeting is seen as crucial for reinforcing price stability, boosting confidence in naira, and supporting broader economic growth. All eyes will be on CBN's next move. Now, let's bring this. This is going to be a very short one. Dear Doc, speak to this matter as an industrialist. If you have to see CBN meeting in less than 10 days from now, what will be in your mind? Price interest hike or bringing it down?
I think CBN also needs to see that there's a whole lot that business people are doing in terms of finding solution to their problem, especially the high cost of borrowing. And if you have to go to a commercial bank to go take a 30% facility in an economy that seems to be quite very challenged, people must have to look out for options. And I think the options that are open right now to a lot of businesses is that those who have the means, they are going to the capital market to raise funds, and then those who can't go to the capital markets are also issuing commercial papers to people who are around and can take a short-term facility for overhead and the rest of it. And you see, in recent time, I've seen commercial paper becoming so popular, and this is a way out. And the real reason for this is because the rate of interest is quite high. I am not an economist by training, but and I think common sense suggests that if you have an economy where inflation is not driven by demand, it's driven by cost, the right thing to do is not to continue to increase rates, is to lower the rates, and that's a big problem. I've listened to somebody who made this argument some years ago who said that the real reason why Africans are suffering is because we are in a hurry to prove to our lenders, especially foreign lenders, the Bretton Woods institutions and their country principals, that we have the capacity to be able to continue to borrow and pay back. And that's why we are leveling so high interest on this thing, that if we want to succeed, the first thing for Africans to do is to drop the rate, the cutting rate, because it's not making us competitive, even in the global market space, because if you take a facility at 30% and somebody is coming from another client with a better technology, better wealth position, and he's getting his facility at 9% or 5%, and you are going to sell in the same global market, you are a daydreamer. So I think this is a problem that I feel that those who run the central bank must also put into their heart, that while they are going to the next MPC, the fact that it's what's happening in Europe, our economies are different, and of course the approach and solutions can be the same. We must look for what fits us and what suits us to drive our economy to the Eldorado that all of us pray for.
Okay, while we're looking for what suits us to... Did you just say Eldorado? Okay, let me get to you. Now, we see China and we've seen Hong Kong, we've seen Japan, we've seen interest rate of in negative figures. Yes. And now, these same people, just like Doc said, well, we all know, they have better technology than we do. They have a bigger market, which Africa is also part of that market. We can't compete based on both technology and interest rate. If they have to take facilities and someone here is taking facilities. If you happen to be Cardoso now, not reading the textbooks written by Adam Smith and Charles Darwin. No, reading the textbook written by Abiola in Idumota Market, and what is his name? The guy producing Costaris Motors.
Maduka.
If we have to look at our own market and our own peculiarities, where should we be going?
If we are to look at our own market,
yes,
and our own. Okay. So first of all, we have our market has its own peculiarities. All those economic theories that Mr. Cardoso must have told, I think that prepared the foundation for him to equally understand the peculiarities of our markets. Now, our markets, most times, a part of our market depend extensively on the way the other markets function. And we can't completely read that off the system. Because if we do, we should not be in a rush, lest we crash. So if he's looking at the Nigerian market, first of all, what should we do? The 27.5% that we currently operate, would it be to our advantage or disadvantage if we tone down? Because one of the reasons, or some of the reasons why the May NPC meeting for 2025, where all existing indices and indications were maintained. And what are these indications? The asymmetric corridor that we retained at 500 minus 000 minus 100 basis points around the NPR. The cash reserve ratio was held at 50% for deposit money banks and 16% for merchant banks, and liquidity ratio was maintained at 30%. And of course, we maintained a conservative position coming down to the NPR remained unchanged for 27.5%. Why did we do that? What's the reason why I did that? Because some of the economic policies that the current administration had implemented were beginning to yield results. They were beginning to yield fruit. And it will be very, very, it will not go in alignment to shake the boat, to all of a sudden start to change all these indices that I reeled out. And that's even the reason why the NPR meeting in the previous meeting that was held in May, maintained all the statistics for us to really sit back and observe the changes that are taking place in the market by way of the new policy directive or the economic policies that the current administration introduced. Now with that, what have we seen? We saw the banks come into play. And one of the recent policies that they've made is with regards to this, our cards, that banks are coming at, that we are going back to the status quo, where the 3 years suspension that was placed on the Nigerian cards that can be spent abroad, has been brought in. And that in itself is going to work for advantage. It's going to, come with...
Who's advantage exactly?
Of course, it's going to come with the advantage of Nigerians who will be traveling in and out of this country because they don't need to go through the ordeal of sourcing and getting dollars because they can spend directly from their account.
Now you are spending, yes. Everybody is able to spend, but who is making the profit?
No, it's not about who making the... If it's about who is making the profit, but does it... Okay, Chooks, there's this question. The pressure, the dollar pressure on the Naira, where is it going to go? Is it going to go down? Yes, it's going to go down. How? Because we do not have to go sourcing for the dollar. We don't have to go sourcing for the dollar to promote the dollar. We are now promoting the Naira because we are spending directly from the Naira account. That in itself worked for the favor of this of Nigerians.
Okay,
and the
now,
CBN
let's go beyond the dollar Naira issue. But yet the cards have been opened up. You can now do international transactions with your Naira card.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, we are still going to a market, buying products that are not ours, getting jobs for people that are not ours. I don't know if this is where we are coming from.
When we say buying products that are not ours, that means I may even have to go to what is currently happening now with regards to the tariff. Yes, I know it has fallen because I saw in the papers that the trade between Nigeria and the United States equally plummeted.
We'll get there. Don't take us there.
We'll get there, fine. Those are some of the repercussions that we are going to have. But I think with time, it's going to steady because this thing about buying too, what are we buying? Are we buying a technology that is going to boost your production locally?
Okay, now hold on to that thought. Yes. Let me get to you before we just round up and go on a break. Now, the night. I'm calling you the night because I need you to pull our last sword right now. We get to see these meetings. We get to see the communique after the meetings. We don't get to hear CBN or government policies directly supporting industries. Where am I going to? Now, if you take a look at China, China has specific subsidies for industries on a regular basis, be it the automobile industry, be it the real estate industry, be it the solid minerals industry, be it even the semiconductors industry. They have specific government direct involved money, let me say it that way, that gets into these industries, making it cheaper for them to produce, unlike other countries. So what we get to see, we see the US and Europe always shouting, why are you subsidizing your industries?
What's their business?
I don't know if you understand. Why are we not seeing that kind of involvement, that kind of communication, that kind of action, that kind of policy coming out of this kind of meetings? Because if the industries thrive, the nation thrive.
Well, I think, first of all, looking at this whole NPC, I think the NPC, they have to come together and also find out how they would weigh in on currency inflation. They also have to look for how they can policies that would lead to economic growth. Now, I think this 30% raw materials policy should also give rise to some sort of local investors, local manufacturers to be able to create jobs for people. That is one way the government is looking at it. But yes, you might say that, of course, they are looking at subsidies and all that. But if you look at the bigger picture, I feel that this 30% raw materials processing should be able to give way to some level of manufacturers. Yes.
30% processing.
Processing.
Okay, of raw materials.
Of raw materials.
Before we export them.
Before we export them, yes.
Now, who is going to process? So these are questions that are hanging out there. Doc will ask the question, who has the money to invest? Government is still the one that has the money to invest. For people that are majorly taking out this raw materials, over 90% of them are artisanal miners. Now, those that really have, in quotes, companies are foreign companies. So should we be focusing the 30% on them? Okay, you can't export what you take from our ground if you don't process.
But even at that, that you can export what you take from our ground, that specific law does not apply to The data specific law rather applies to everyone, whether you are a foreign company or a local organization that you are mining and you get that raw materials.
Before it
leaves here, you have to process. So for the big organization who have the processing capacity, you have to do that. The government will not have to mandate them to do that before taking it out of the country, and the government will need to put eyes there for them to actually measure the 30%, because that is a technical word, and it is very, very, it's very, very easy for those people to bypass that process, like, oh, 30%, I think you should cut out for 30%, and that is why the relevant organization needs, institutions will need to come into play that, look, this is 30% for this, that, and the other.
How do you quantify 30%?
Quantify, that is where the organization will come in by way of a legal framework to measure that, by bringing in professionals and experts that will be in the different industries for them to measure that. And in that case, if we are unable to get that right, it will become a policy that will just go down the drain. That is another thing. For the local miners, for our local persons, that percentage, it should apply, but the government should also support them by, giving them that capacity loans, single-digit loans, because we are talking about these loans that the government in the foreign claims like China, it's even almost negative. So we should emulate that. I think it might be difficult, but we need to do that. But if we are going to do that, we also need to put our foot on the ground to make sure that these monies that we are giving them for single-digit or no-profit loans are utilized to purchase the infrastructure, the technology, and the machinery that will enable these local miners to add value into it.
Okay. Also, before, okay, go ahead.
Of course, this buy Nigeria first. Yes, it's a good policy, but I think it needs bigger push than just telling Nigerians to buy Nigeria. We need the leadership.
Bigger push from
the
government, of course.
Which government? Local government?
Excuse me.
Of course, yes. Be specific. When you are saying something, you say something.
The government, whether it's federal, whether it's state or local.
I think Chooks is just being sarcastic.
We need a bigger push. And I also think that you could also raise tariffs on imported goods, thereby discouraging Nigerians.
You want to join Trump?
Yes, no, of course, it's the right way to go. We said it.
Okay.
It's the right way to go.
Put tariffs for imports. We have import substitution for those goods. You're bringing those goods to come and contend with the local, with the few companies we have locally that are exercising their production and manufacturing muscles. You want to break them. It is my responsibility as a government to make sure I strengthen them
and protect
them by way of policy.
Okay.
So if I'm
you're not going that route. Don't even think of going that route. Now, let's come to you on this. Now, we've seen specifically China build out the real estate industry in China. It almost collapsed. They used their own state money and put in banks and told the real estate companies, now go to the banks and take money and get your sector back on foot. Now, let's go to between electric cars. Donald Trump used to have a very good friend whose name I think was Elon Musk, right? Yeah. They are no longer friends, so we are forgetting his name. Now, as we speak right now, there is another company that is way, way bigger than his...
Yeah, Chooks, let's not go too far.
We need to lay this basis.
Yeah, but you
in
see,
these MPC meetings,
environments are different.
Can I ask a question, sir? In these MPC meetings,
yes,
can we have a communique at the end of some of these meetings where they will come out to specifically say, okay, for this 6 months, we are supporting this industry, and not just hike that.
Chooks, that's the point I'm making. The environments are different.
But the market is the same.
Yes, the market may be different, but the operators of the market are different. And that's why I keep saying, when you talk about the Nigerian first policy, people should not be talking about buying and trading or buying and selling. That should not be the Nigerian first policy. The Nigerian first policy is the first and foremost that every Nigerian, young or old, accepts that there's a need for all of us to build a country that we can be proud of as our own. That's the starting point. Because the problem with Nigeria is not just about writing policy. And I can tell you this for free. I was sharing with somebody yesterday, one lawmaker in Lagos here, who thought he was helping some of the people in his constituent, and said, well, I have people to come train you for like 3 days on seedlings or the things you can do, that you can plant around your neighborhood, and you don't really need to spend too much money, and then you can be making money out of it. And he said, okay, train them for 3 days. I will give everybody a startup capital of 100,000. Yes, it looks small. But what happened? These people went to gather people from the street and had this conversation. Okay, you take 40%, you take 60%, we take 40%. And they all went for that training register. They never really trained, and the money was handed over to them, and they never invested it. Now, this is a problem. The high risk in our environment is massive. And you can't find that in China. You can't find that in America. So what you see, yes, both of them are different kind of regime. If you go to America, people are valuing, look, when you say, if I'm taking a loan from you, I knew the onus of responsibilities on me to pay back. As we speak, I think it was about last week, the AMCON MD was still saying that the problem with the Nigerian financial sector is that there are so many big Nigerians who are owing the bank and they don't want to pay. Now, this is a high risk. And these are the things that, of course, the NPC had to put on the ground. How do we reduce risk for depositor fund? Is a big problem. So we have to first and foremost, as a people, tell ourselves some small honest truths. That yes, we can do some of all these things, but we have to create the environment in which this can happen, because a lot of people see bank money as free money. You give them missiles, so people marry more wives. Some people go and buy expensive luxury car they don't need, and then it's not plowed into the problem. Even when government has even opened spaces in development bank, agricultural banks, and put money in there, a lot of people go there to take the money and they are not refunded. And these are problems. They say, oh, we want to plant rice, we didn't see the rice farm. And many of them today are on the television. Some of them are even planning parallel government. So these are the issues that you see with our people. People are not sincere. People are not genuine. So the risk is high.
Some people are not sincere. Some people are not genuine.
In short, I say to people, when you go, bad people everywhere. But when you take the percentage, maybe you have 10% of people who are bad and 90% of good people. But in our case, it's the reverse.
That is a question for another day,
okay.
Which I will beg to differ. Before you go up, let's go on a break.
All right.
Catch our break. We'll be right back. Remember, this is Souq News. Join us on all platforms. Just go there and click Souq TV, and you'll see us. Follow us, we'll follow you back. Let's communicate. This has to go beyond the studio. Let's hear your take on this. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Take Nigeria, because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market, or buying to keep it for their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
My name is Bayo Olaoye. No elected official should take the oath of office until tribunals decide all petitions. This is the position of the justices of the Court of Appeal and other judicial officers who participated at a workshop to review the performance of the judiciary in the last pre-election litigation season, identify areas of shortcomings, and work on ways to improve the process. In today's news talk, I will be examining the recommendations of the workshop and reactions from legal luminaries on the issue of deciding elections petitions before swearing in. One of the recommendations of the workshop was that the election disputes should be concluded before any winner of an election takes the oath of office. It also recommended that the Constitution should be amended to provide that all pre- and post-elections matters shall be heard and determined before the winners of the election takes the oath of office. That Section 187 of the 1999 Constitution should be amended to include a new subsection stating clearly that disqualification or non-qualification of a deputy governor shall not affect the governor-elect or governorship candidate of a political party. It is also the recommendation of the workshop that all pre-elections appeal should terminate at the Court of Appeal. Participants resolved that the state of the transmission of results must be revisited and reviewed to avoid the kind of controversy surrounding the transmission of results in the last 2023 elections. The participants asked the Alternative Dispute Resolution, ADR, to be introduced into electoral laws with the passage of the Arbitration Mediation Act 2023. They contended that the negative publicity in which the judiciary was portrayed in bad light by the social media and other forces associated with it should be countered by a robust communication media department to be established by the respective courts. Rights activist Clement Nwanko of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, reminded the gathering about the important role which democracy plays on the third arm of government and why it must always play such role effectively. Nwanko noted that the involvement of the judiciary in elections has continued to be very important, adding that it meant that there were a lot of expectations from the judiciary. He observed that the perception of the citizens of the judiciary had become much more prominent, and advised that it was an issue that the judiciary must address by ensuring that its judgments and other decisions reflect justice. Mr. Nwanko argued that for a lot of Nigerians, the ability of the courts to dispense justice was always the basis of trust and confidence in the Nigerian judiciary. Achieving this, he added, required robust legal frameworks, effective enforcement mechanisms, and a commitment to inclusive electoral practices by all. He tasked the civil society, media, political parties, and others with the responsibility of embarking on massive sensitization of the public on the rudiments of the electoral law. Reacting to the recommendations, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Mike Ezekome, said he agreed with many of the recommendations because they aimed at enhancing the efficiency, fairness, and transparency of what he called the warped electoral process in the country. However, he held a different view on some of these recommendations, especially that which said that the Court of Appeal should be the final arbiter in governorship election. This, he said, cannot fly. Chief Ezekome described as salutary and commendable the recommendation that election disputes should be concluded before swearing in. Another senior advocate of Nigeria, Joseph Nwobike, said he completely agreed with the proposals, particularly the suggestion that all litigations should end conclusively before the winner are sworn in into the electoral offices. He added that the suggestions coming from the judges themselves was a welcome development and will advance the core values of democracy in Nigeria. Mr. Nwobike believed that if the proposed amendments are made to the existing provisions of the Constitution, all the parties concerned, including INEC, will align themselves to the law and that Nigeria will be better for it. I am Bayo Olaoye.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.
Welcome back. This is SBL and we are live on Souq News. My name is Chooks, John Rogers Chooks, and the men are still on the table, well seated and guarded. Now let's go straight to our next story, and it has to do with the NNPC. If you add L, then it has a limited, but you know where we are going to. Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited. Now they are considering selling the Port Harcourt and Warri, and again, you get Kaduna refineries. Following years of failed investment and non-performance, the Group Chief Executive Officer, Bayo Ojulari, revealed during the OPEC International Seminar in Vienna that a strategic review is underway and may be concluded before the end of the year. He said outdated infrastructure and underperforming technologies have hindered results despite huge spending Ojulari confirmed that selling the refineries is a possible outcome as all options are being considered to stop further losses. His statement comes as Aliko Dangote criticized the refineries for wasting over $18 billion. I say it again, wasting over $18 billion without any functional output. The Port Harcourt refinery, which was reopened in 2024, has been shut down again. Along with the Warri refinery, industry groups, including Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, are urging the federal government to privatize the refineries to end the financial burden. Ojulari also confirmed that NNPCL plans to list on the stock exchange by 2028, driven by reforms under the Petroleum Industry Act. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are back on this table. I don't know whether we should break it, shift it, or move it. Now we are hearing this from the chief executive of that particular corporation, that the refineries will spend billions of dollars for over 20 years are not working. For the first time, somebody is saying something that looks like the truth. So now that begs the question, all those monies, 18 billion in the last count, that's in less than 8 years, where did that money go to? Who should we hold responsible?
I think some people have been held responsible already.
Some people?
Yes, of course. EFCC had arrested a couple of people, including the managing director of Kaduna Refinery, because about 80 billion was allegedly found on his private account.
80 billion naira
80 billion
or dollars?
Naira. So,
okay.
And of course, the money that are meant for the turnaround maintenance of that refinery.
80 billion, a civil servant?
Yes. So when you look at it, even the figure that Dangote gave, which is about 18 billion spent on the turnaround maintenance of that refinery, is a fraction. Is a fraction of it, because if you have looked at it, the overhead in that refinery for between 2000 and 2004 and 2023 or 2024 was, in my calculation, over 6 trillion naira on overhead.
That was even before dollar went to 1,000 plus.
So if you spend 6 trillion naira to turn around a refinery that is not dropping a kerosene or gas or petrol, I think that's been a huge waste. But you see, this is the point I have always made, and I think it is important for all of us to understand some of the things and the dynamics that operate in Nigeria. You know, I made a statement just now. You said, "Well, it's not too correct." Can
I hold you to what you're saying? Now, when a group of people steal, that's what it is. When a group of people steal, and we allude it and use it as a means of qualifying
no. You see, the problem is that
there's no problem.
It's not a group of people. What I'm saying to you,
it has nothing to do with Nigerians.
No, wait.
Somebody stole money.
Wait, Chooks. All this money was not spent in one administration.
Okay.
So which means, since
it's a group of people,
whether they are a group of people or not,
okay,
some of them are no longer alive. The current ones that are there are also doing the same. So if you find a culture where everybody does
is it a culture?
It's cultural for us. So if everybody is doing the same thing.
Can I punctuate you a bit? Now, if a thief takes over an area, what does he do? He makes sure that whoever is handing over to, whoever is going to look after that thing, is a thief like him.
No.
That is what we see.
No.
Yes.
You see, I think it was Pastor Adeyemi that said something that, yes, I agree with you to a very large extent, that what you mean is that if a thief become a head of an agency or something, is going to recruit a thief. And so what you have seen in the 36 states of federation, in the 774 local governments in Nigeria, and the big Nigeria, and everybody is doing the same thing.
Everybody is not doing the same thing, Doc.
So now point out one state where these things are not happening.
Okay, Doc, can I ask
one local government where these things are not happening.
Can I ask a question? We, as a people, let's take Saturday for a typical example. How many people went out to go and vote?
Why did people know? I went out to go and vote. I couldn't vote. Now, let me give you an example.
Hold on.
Let me give You see,
we as a people have decided to say,
no. I went out.
Same old.
I went out 8 a.m. hours in the field. There's no INEC. Police were everywhere. I can show you photograph on my phone.
There's no INEC.
No INEC. Nobody on the ground.
But we have results.
I went out at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
I didn't see anybody on my polling booth. So what are you talking about? What I'm saying to you is that we can be nationalistic.
Let's come
back.
But
what the point I'm making is that look at it. Whether you agree, whether you don't agree, we will be in this same circle until we tell ourselves an honest truth.
That
maybe because you have not been there yet, maybe we don't know what happened when you get in there. So it's until you get in there that you know whether you're actually good or you're not good.
But you know.
I don't know.
Or you know.
I don't know until you get there.
Even the knight knows because
that will not be different.
Definitely he knows.
I'm not in his mind, so I can't.
Let's get to you. Now we are looking at an NNPC that has run for God knows how long. We're not going to go into that history. And it took this administration to come out and look at us in the face and tell us some basic truths that we knew all along. That these monies were going into somebody else's pocket. Dear Priye, what exactly do you think we should do as a people?
Take the bull by the horn, walk with the new revelations that we have, and take decisive action.
What are these actions?
You know, in 2021 alone, it was said that both the Kaduna refinery, the Warri refinery, and the Port Harcourt refinery GOVT a total of $2.9 billion for turnaround maintenance. And the NNPCL, now recently Aliko Dangote, now you need to start schooling Nigeria and the country on how to run a refinery. And he's saying about the $18 billion that we spent on the refinery it was actually diverted, and it was not used for that specific purpose.
So who diverted?
Those who are saddled with the responsibility of carrying out the turnaround maintenance. Doc just mentioned one, the group managing director, right? Or the managing director of the Kaduna refinery. The Kaduna refinery is part of those that...
Can he move that amount of money and divert that amount of money without the knowledge of the people in authority within the state and the federal?
Now that the EFCC has apprehended him, and they are going to question him, and do their job, the job they know how to do, to fish out the truth. Of course, names will begin to come out in public space who did not do those things that was expected of them to do. And see, I'm not going with the narrative that all Nigerians are corrupt. No, sir. We are not all corrupt.
Okay, the question is, now Nigerians good people?
Of course, Nigerians are good people. We have a program on this station that says the Good Nigerian Show. If there are no good people in Nigeria, we will not tell that narrative.
Okay, hold on to that thought. Hold on to before it gets corrupted. Hold on to that thought. Now let me get to you, Olumide. Now we have a school of thought, and they are telling us that the refineries are old.
Obsolete.
Hold on, no. Let's just use
obsolete.
No.
Don't paddy-cake the issue.
Let's use what old. But outside this place, we've also seen refineries that are times 2 the age of these same refineries, and they are still functioning. What exactly are the issues?
They did the turnaround maintenance when the money was given to them.
It's quite disappointing. It's quite disappointing that this is where we are. It's quite an embarrassment that one man decided to do what a whole federal government cannot achieve. But I feel that whether we're going to sell this refinery or not, there needs to be an inquiry. There needs to be an audit. Whether we like it or not, Pandora's box must be open, and we need to find out what has been going on. Yes, Doc said 80 billion was found in one person's account. I believe it's not just him that should be prosecuted. The money left a particular account, a particular institution, financial institution was in the know. Signatures were authorized. or were given to authorize that amount. So you cannot tell me that people are not in the know of this whole thing. And this is not the first time we've been hearing it. It's going on. We heard that Ojulari has been boycotting the hearing at the Senate. He said he had other more important things to do. And the fact that he just assumed office and is saying, look, we need to sell this. Is there something he has discovered that is so scary or so humongous that he cannot say? And he said, the only solution is let's just sell this. I feel, is that something you're trying to bury? Is that something you're trying to cover up? But whichever way, from now till December, I think EFCC, they have their hands full.
Yeah, but you also would not take away the element of blackmail, which is very unique to us as
blackmail on who exactly?
Yes, on the current regime. You see, these are the issues that we must all pay attention to. And I think this is why the press must...
Hold on. Now, when you say blackmail on the current regime, is this same current regime that for the first time we are seeing NNPC that is shaking? Unlike before, we were...
Yeah, but that is the point that I'm making.
Does NMC own Nigeria or Nigeria owns NNPC?
Let me give you a practical example. You know, some years ago, and I think this was a small church setting, and a friend of mine was a pastor of a church, and all of a sudden, he took ill, and we're so worried, and we're praying to get him well, and eventually, I was getting well a little bit. And I had a revelation where a lady came to me and said to me, in her revelation, and I said, you know what, that he just came to tell me about this guy. And I said, what about him? And he said, his sickness. I said, what happened? And he said, well, he tried to take away food from the amount of people who had been benefiting from that system. And because of that, and I said, so you can kill somebody because of money. And he said the money was huge. Now what point I'm trying to draw to you is this simple. And the following Sunday, the lady actually came physically to come and apologize to the person. I said, okay. But what the point is that there was some money that was kept somewhere for some project. And this guy was actually overseeing this project. And he said in the foundation alone, foundation of that project, what was built into that foundation, over 26 million was cut off. Things that were not needed. You see, the problem you are dealing with here is procurement fraud. Olumide is talking about somebody signing. We are given a responsibility as an MD of this place to oversee this place. And what do you have? You only have people here who are working for you. And you send one to the market, he gives you an invoice. You can send 10 people, you get the same invoice. And then you have to procure. So deliberately you have to procure. You won't go to the market yourself. So these procurements are done. Now, when these things are brought in at all, the storekeeper is there. So you see, the web of corruption is net. Somebody who is supposed to be receiving this item in the store is also colluding because it's getting part of this cake sharing. And this is the point I'm saying to you. So because people are thinking that when these things happen, it's only the people at the top that are doing it. It's rolling down to the bottom. And that's what I'm saying to you, and I can be very confident because I've worked with civil service for a very long time, and I've been in this society for a very long time, and I can tell you with every definitiveness, we need some change of heart to be a good people. Definitely. So this is where the problem is. And it's worse off because we have not been able to own the state structure. That's my argument. Okay. It's not that every Nigerian is bad, but we don't believe that the state belongs to us.
Okay. So we don't believe the state belongs to us. Before you get to deterrence, leave deterrence alone. We need to recover some parts of this money.
In my village, if somebody steal a tuber of yam, if it's a woman, they even naked them and walk them on the street. They are as barbaric as that. But if you steal from the state, they celebrate you and welcome you because they feel that was not stealing. So this is the mentality of our people. We must get to the level where people understand that even when we are saying deterrence, you want to put something, they tell you they claim it in ethnic toga. This man is anti-West, this man is anti-East, this man is anti-North. These are the blackmail I'm talking about.
Have you talked about is also a party person, is a family affair? You've not talked about that side.
Chooks.
Okay.
Okay.
How can we recover some of these monies?
Okay. It's easy. Now, the Economics and Financial Crimes
I think we have
Commission.
appointed for you to help us recover. It's very easy.
I don't know what I just said. The word just came. It doesn't should appoint me. It is so easy.
It is so easy. Dear Priya, the fair one, how can we recover some of this money? I know it will be difficult to recover all. But how
Some of this. That's what it was easy. It's okay. The thing is this: the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission last week or so petitioned the National Assembly that some of these audited reports, you are wasting time for giving attention to it, because it's an instrument that we need to take to the field to bring some of these people to book who must have been part or have played a part for filtering this money away. So the National Assembly have their own responsibility to play, not only the EFCC. Some of these administrations that we talked about, that $2.9 billion has been filtered away, or in previous administration, and as it is in this current administration, the chief executives are the ministers of petrol, right? The ministers of what are they called? Petroleum resources. Then we have a minister of state. Currently, we have Heineken Lokobri, right, from Bayelsa State.
In two sentences,
how
can we
can be more than that, it can be less than that.
Oh, beautiful.
In sentences.
Okay,
So
hit it.
the chief executives could have a question to answer.
Past or present, because the past is late.
The past, fine, is late, right? The current chief executive, if he's the Minister of Petroleum Resources, sir, at the end of your administration, hope we're not going to discover what we have discovered in the previous administration.
Right now, we need to start recovering. So that
is why it's good that we are discovering this. Biojewelry came in a few weeks ago, and we're talking about the 210 trillion naira that Doc was saying they could be in the system, or it's just unaccounted for. It could be what do they even call it then? That they were misapplied and all of that. Please. We need to recover, and we are going to recover it. All this, the previous ministers of state for DPR, we need to bring them in too, and we need to really quiz them. Those audited reports that the National Assembly has not given attention to, need to be given attention to, so the EFCC can run with it for us to get back this money. Because if we are not, we're just going to go through the same route again, and before you know, we turn a new leaf, and those who have made away with that billions of dollars have gone with it.
Okay, we have two more stories and we will take them. We'll just give it three minutes. So, hey, let's hit fast. Now, this particular one has to do with Nigerian exports to the United States. It fell by $527 million between January and May 2025. A 20% drop from the same period in 2024. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau shows that exports declined from $2.65 billion to $2.12 billion, driven by rising tariffs under President Donald Trump's new trade policy, which placed a 14% levy on Nigerian goods. Despite crude oil being exempt, U.S. imports of Nigerian oil also fell from 20.4 million barrels to 17.39 million barrels. Meanwhile, U.S. exports to Nigeria rose by nearly 18% to $2.42 billion, reversing the trade. Okay, gentlemen, this is where we are right now. What we are exporting to the U.S. is reducing. What we are making from what we are exporting to the U.S. is reducing, even as oil is also part of it. We spoke a little about this on Friday, and the tariff issue and all that. We also looked at, okay, where else can we send our oil if U.S. decide to knock around their tariff? If you're a Nigerian president, Olumide, what will you do right now?
We've talked about it.
Just give us like 2 sentences. Olumide is the president of Nigeria. What will you do?
Look for somewhere else to sell my oil.
Bayo Ojulari, what are we going to do?
Look for somewhere to sell your oil.
India, any other person.
We already export. Okay, go on.
Coming back to what Priya and I said earlier on, which you said no. Increase our own tariffs of things coming into. I mean, it's all fair.
To make up for that.
We are importing more from them in the first place.
Yes.
Compared to what they are taking from us.
Yes.
So we also slam tariff on it.
Slam tariffs on it. Higher tariffs, if possible.
But majorly what we are importing from them are luxury items for the elites.
Tariff.
For Doc and his friends.
So we... Okay.
Tariff.
Okay, Doc, I'm not coming to you now. Let's go to our last story for
but you see, the problem you have, Mr. Chooks, is that you worry about too many things.
I worry about
in my village, they say the massive noise you hear in the marketplace is just, I won't sell, I won't buy. That's the noise you are hearing. So if somebody says, I'm not buying from you, then you look for somebody to buy. Yeah, but of course, there are a lot of people who are making those huge noise in the marketplace. All you say, I won't buy, is negotiation going on. So people must understand this thing. And I think as a nation, we even have alternative right now, especially with our crude, when we have refineries that are importing crude. So we should zero down and sell to our family members and then collect the money easier. And then we move ahead until we can get to a level where we have industrial goods that we want to ship abroad.
The oracle have spoken. Now let's get to our final story for today. For those that are wondering, yes, we predicted this on this table, and well, it has come and it has gone. Bitcoin has surged to an all-time high of $120,000, fueled by strong institutional demand, easing global interest rates, and growing optimism around crypto-backed ETFs. Bloomberg reports that the latest rally marks a 45% increase in 2025, along with traders betting on continued inflows from sovereign wealth funds and pension portfolios. Okay, gentlemen, sometime last week, there was, no, two weeks ago, it went down, then it came to 111, everybody was shouting.
Yeah.
As we speak right now, it's 122. Nations are making money. I don't know of us, I don't know of African nations. Because I am pro-Africa. Right now, that particular Bitcoin is going for 122 plus. Now we have the biggest what's it called? Biggest hedge fund holders, BlackRock. They invested heavily. Fidelity. The list is endless. And all these are either US companies, majorly US companies, and the European companies and Asian companies. Why is Africa not following suit?
What makes you think the price went up?
What makes me think?
Yes. It's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer it.
Okay.
Name the kind of companies that are going in there recently and that are upping the ante.
The banks.
The banks.
European banks. They are all
The
getting
European
into it.
banks. The Asian
into it.
banks are taking after the footstep of the American banks.
Asian banks
You
are
just
making
named
payments.
BlackRock.
Are making payments.
Yes, they are going in there. They are taking after the action of the US. They are going in there. US is there. The banks are in there. Why wouldn't the price surge? Because it fell recently. Now,
what should African
how many
countries
percent?
do?
How many
What should
percent?
African
How many
countries do?
percent?
45% increase in 2025 alone.
Great. It's because of those who are going into the market. That's part of it. And the thing is, we are taking a back seat because we need to recover from some of the policies that we have made in the past that have made some brilliant minds in this space to even just jet out, because I know a few who told me, I'm leaving because of this, because this is what I used to feed. And they left the shores.
No, these are, you're talking about individuals.
Yes, I'm talking about
now,
individuals.
Hold on. Let me come to you, Doc. The United States, as a policy, as a state policy, is holding on to cryptos as we speak right now, as a state policy. Not just holding on to what they trade or what they seize, but now as a state policy, it's part of what they are hedging on. What should African countries start doing?
Well, you know my position on that already.
So tell us.
You see, I think Africa needs to be a little careful hedging fund with the crypto.
If we are not hedging, what about making money off exchanges? Because we have not also gotten there.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are doing that right now, and those windows are opening up gradually, especially within our stock market. So those exchange-traded funds are also coming to use. Those small windows are opening. But I think generally and globally, a lot of people are falling in line. A lot of nations are adopting. Canada has fully embraced. United Arab Emirates has fully embraced. A number of countries are taking advantage of the window, but some countries also in Europe are also skeptical. People are really worried because here we are. Yes, the system is created. The system is foolproof as people would want us believe, but we really don't know who's actually in charge of these things. So that if it were something that, of course, people who sit down to say, where are the ones that are actually doing these things and they are known, especially the system, where is warehouse? A lot of people trade, but this, I'm still not too confident about that entire system of crypto.
Okay. While Doc has beared his mind, he's not confident on crypto. Now, for those that are out there, you need a whole lot of schooling. Yes, that's not a problem. Enlighten your minds. But for nations in Africa, we are of the direct opinion that get involved. There is tax to be paid on every money that is made in any of these exchanges. Africa should not be left behind. Collect those taxes, whether you are holding, whether you are not holding. As a country, make the money. You have nothing to lose. What do you think?
Yes. Well, when Doc said he was skeptical, it's the same skepticism that made us not to go. We need to, our government need to bring in infrastructure, security, technology in a place where they can really look at this system and have a confidence in the way they watch the system and probably regulate the system the way we have other clients who are jumping into the train are doing it. Why are some specific people joining the bandwagon? And these are people that have the wherewithal to to inform the decisions of other people. Because even those of our economic regulators that we talked about that went to the schools in those climes, and they've been taught, they know how to make these things streamline in a way that is going to comply or be in alignment with our system. I do not think that Olayemi Cardoso is just going to keep quiet and just be watching. If it does not come to play, I think it is beyond his capacity to enforce. Okay. Because you can see that Imomotimi Agama has spoken about this.
Definitely.
And it's already at work. So it's what is remaining for us to do is to completely expand it and have confidence in it the way the US and the Asians and the Europeans have confidence in it.
Okay. At the start of the Ukraine war, when the West Europe was trying to hold and gag Russia, Russia was saying, okay, good, if you don't want us to pay, if you are trying to hold on to SWIFT, we can make transfers and co. We can use Bitcoin, buy our oil and gas with Bitcoin. These are things that overnight can shoot the price of this particular commodity well over what it is right now. True. Do you see these cryptocurrencies, although they are means of payment already, do you see them being things that can really change the dynamics in international monetary transfers?
Well, it's a good question. I think, yes, it can. I think if Africa is able to embrace this particular Bitcoin, it really transform our economy. If first of all, we get digital literacy, because whether we like it or not, a lot of people still do not know what this Bitcoin is about in Nigeria. Some just believe it's a get-rich-quick kind of scheme, but they do not understand that you can hold, it dips, it comes up, in all that. So when it dips, they feel like, oh, I've lost money. I also, at the point, did all this, but I actually gave up in the whole cryptocurrency because I was skeptical about it. And just like Doc said, we don't really know who controls this. That's the big question. Who actually
elephant in the room.
Yes.
Okay.
So while, yes, it is good for Nigeria to go into this and make all the money, let's also try as much as possible to create a system whereby it's foolproof and we understand the nitty-gritty of this whole cryptocurrency.
Okay. We deny ourselves, we deny ourselves a lot if we don't go in there. In fact, as an institution, as a government, we should be playing big in that space. We should be playing big in that space because it will serve as a very, very good channel to even review upward our defense expenditure without putting in the eyes of the public. We can choose to buy this defense equipment, defense technology from any part of the world without making it a public knowledge. These countries you just mentioned, they do likewise. They do the same. So why are we hindering ourselves from things that can benefit us? It's geopolitics. I don't know why we keep our tails within our legs and not go in there to play big. It's surprising for me.
Okay, it's been a very beautiful, fluid Monday. I want to say thank you for everyone that has been part of this particular program from the start till this time. My name is Souq Business, and everyone on this table are glad to have had you. Remember, follow us on Souq TV. Go to all our social media handles for those that you have, and follow us. We will follow you back. Say hi. We'll most likely wave at you. It's been nice. Now let's get to hear from everybody. Final parting words, and we'll follow ourselves on social media. Doc.
Well, I think it's a moment of reflection, and I think every Nigerian should reflect. The passing of the former president should create that opportunity for a lot of us to sit down and think about this nation. It is great in potential, but it will not be realized until everyone believes in it. Do have yourself a beautiful day.
Priye?
Yes, I was once told by an economist and someone who has quite a good knowledge and expanded knowledge in the marketplace that, look, the things that you admire a lot abroad, Nigeria, you'll be surprised that when you travel out of the country, it's the things you do quite easy here will be somewhat difficult abroad. And he even talked about something as simple as seeing a doctor within an hour. That in some of these European clients, you can't even do that. And our financial market is doing well. And that you can even do a transaction on your phone and you are getting the reply and the transaction is successful immediately. If it is 5 minutes late, you are complaining. In some of these clients that you go to, it's not that. It can take a whole day, 24 hours. And it's high time we begin to cherish and appreciate these little successes that we have back at home. I think that's a good food for thought for every Nigerian.
That's good. Olubide?
Well, it's a time for sober reflection. Condolences to the family of late Muhammadu Buhari. A lot of people have fought for some of the benefits we enjoy today. Buhari has also become one of the heroes, has fought for so many things that we do enjoy today. Let's reflect on that. Let's reflect on some of the good policies that he did, he rolled out. And let's just try as much as possible, just like Doc would always say, think Nigeria. Let it start from the mindset and let it transcend from there on. I'm Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. We'll do this again tomorrow. Have yourself a beautiful, beautiful Monday.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff? Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq Business Landscape.